Hey, I'm back at the Cafe 210, and we're in the prayer room. Sometimes I call this my recording studio, but I have Bill Huff or William Huff, who is a poet. And Bill, you've got a few books. Just show the cover of this one book that you're going to share. Journey of the
Journeys of
Heart.
the Heart.
Yeah, and you have some others. But Bill, where can they, if they want to connect with you more, how can they connect with you more?
Uh, Not easily, but the as far as this particular book goes, the Book Nook downtown,
Oh, they
uh,
have it there.
they have
They're ordering
they
it.
have purchased 10 copies.
Okay.
But better to just get in touch with John or me. We're usually
Okay.
here on Saturdays, a cup
All
of
right.
jazz.
And they know how to get a
And
hold of me. Yeah.
okay,
And so you,
so that yeah, we could make
okay, we
arrangements.
can do it. So
Probably more better just
get a hold of
do it
me
through us.
and
Yeah.
I'll get a hold of William and we'll get the books to you. All right. So William, there's one, and I don't care how short or how long, but this is one that's even more, well, they're all personable to you.
Yeah.
They're your journeys in life, but this was a kind of a scary journey. Why don't you share about it and then share the poem?
Yeah. Um, This was a very pivotal situation in my life. I had been a Christian for a number of years, and but there was things that um, when God speaks quietly, it's important you pay attention because you're not going to like it if he has to shout. And I kind of learned that in uh, this poem describes a situation that I went through. I'd gotten out of the military from the Vietnam thing in February of '68, and immediately picked up a custom motorcycle. And the following weekend, put almost 500 miles under it. And this would be the first of thousands of solitary miles where I just kind of decompressing. I was
Wow.
a month later, I was buying a house and living alone and enjoying my solitude. And I had kind of life at my own convenience. I mean, I could date freely and be cool at a shallow level, but if a girl was dumb enough to say she loved me, I never dated her again. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
Uh, for whatever your take on spiritual gifts, uh, I wound up, there was this gal that I'd known that did have a prophetic gift that managed to get me going to a church in Burbank. And we just go and sit in the back row and leave immediately afterwards. But one time afterwards, she said, Bill, uh, God's got something to tell you. And I took this seriously. She said I had some trouble to go through. And the word of wisdom was that I was to yield to the chastening of the Lord so the time could be short. And I knew immediately it was to be a motorcycle accident. I didn't tell her what it was. It wasn't her concern. You know what I'm saying? I no point in worrying her. I was worried enough. And so I had nonstop arguing with God for the next 3 weeks.
Wow.
And after 3 weeks, well, here's kind of where the poem. Now picture a solitary misfit. I've left the LA Basin through the San Gabriel Mountains and just starting out across the Mojave Desert. And I'm still arguing with God about this thing. Like, I don't need a motorcycle accident. Angeles Crest Highway was almost behind. His bike climbs a 70 from a curve that was blind, 80, then 90, and so goes his speed. But he carries a Band-Aid in case there's a need. Now, this was just a stupid joke of myself. I carry a Band-Aid in my pocket in case I had an accident. You gotta be an idiot. I understand my humor, okay? But in fact, his bike tops 100 as he crests one last hill, passing all the traffic as though it stood still. 110, then 120. My God, what a rush. And then on to 120, probably about 150 eventually. He smiles as he looks at the fragile front wheel between him and the road and a death he could feel, and then lifts his gaze to adjust to the track. And in speed through desert sees death grinning back. But as peace assures him his end is not here, he starts talking with God and beginning to hear. I don't understand, God, this thing that you've shown, the meaning of pain in this life I have known. But I know that you love me surely more than I do, so I'm just going to trust you to bring me on through. As time becomes precious, he lowers his speed, down to about 80, still more than he'd need. A small winding road that he'd never been on, then beckoned his heart to the mountains beyond. As he entered a curve that the bike couldn't take, he realized he had a decision to make. He straightened it out so he'd miss the guardrail and then figured out what's the best way to bail. He then sailed through the air with the greatest of ease over cartwheeling scenery on a warm desert breeze. He could hear thump and bump from his bike as it broke over out-of-size boulders, manzanita, and oak. Remember not to glue the pages together. He suddenly found himself flat on his face. The entire hillside had just this one smooth place. Through some miracle greater than most he had known, he found he had broken not one single bone. But the pain from inside could far more than suffice than to put him to sleep, and it would feel so nice. But he knew that to sleep then would bring certain death, so he fought to his feet while still gasping for breath. The battered bike lay there. Its gas tank was caved. It was not leaking gas, so it just might be saved. Exhaust pipes were dented, with one twisted out, but with help from a rock it might be straightened out. He considered the road on the hillside above and wondered if passing cars had any love. But no, he can't do that. He'd stay quite aloof, because people will hurt you, and his heart was proof. A search through the rocks yielded tools and a part, and he got that thing working. Well, at least it would start. And after fighting the hillside and pain like a goat, he finally got that machine back on the road. And then, as if he hadn't had quite enough, he said as he rode, "Boy, am I ever tough." In answer, his body convulsed with such pain that deep sobs drove him spastic and threatened his brain. "Okay, God, I hear you. Help me if you must. But please do not send me a human to trust." The late afternoon was now losing its light. He needed a place to hang out for the night. An old two-room schoolhouse had people about. A church from Burbank had come there to camp out. They could see he was fighting to maintain his grip, but he refused their offer of a 90-mile trip. "Just lend me a patch of this old hardwood floor. By the time the sun's up, I'll be out of your door." But a sweet kiss on the forehead as he lay there that night began to unravel his cold, lonely fight. To a dust-covered bum, here's a token of love in care of a human from heaven above. When the sun rose, he was barely able to stand, and he knew he'd soon die if he refused their hand. The surgery and 8 days of hospital stay gave him time to consider the events of that day. "Let people get near you," a gentle voice said. "But God, I'll get hurt." But let's see. "But God, I'll get hurt," said the lad on the bed. "I was hurt," said the voice in the same gentle way. "Crucifixions are painful now, wouldn't you say? Trust me for your hurts, and yes, there'll be pain, but I'll be there to help you start loving again. You thought you were macho to endure all that pain, but your great fear of love makes you weaker than rain." He began to relax and let healing flow. He began to forgive, and he began to grow. A day that began with a kid in a race awakened a heart that could love and embrace.
Now, this comes from Journeys of the Heart. And if you want to know how to get this book, Bill, we're going to do a few other ones, but we're going to wrap this one up right now. And if you want the book, and what a journey. I've never been on that kind of a motorcycle ride, but I think in here we've all been there. Well,
most people who were aren't alive now.
Well, that's true. Hey, well, I'm glad you're watching this, and God bless. And we'll have some other ones by William Huff. God bless. Welcome to Chaplain Chat.